I started, so we'll introduce you and everything. Yeah, so today, guys, we have a special guest for you, Indian witch and demonolotress, ancient divine flames. So thank you for coming. She also has a YouTube channel, which is pretty badass channel, to be honest, with a lot
Thank you so much.
of content. And today's topic will be for all of you guys, because I never had an opportunity to talk about this with a native Indian, uh, the goddess Kali from the Indian perspective. So this will be probably the most informative show on the channel regarding this topic. We filmed multiple shows with this topic, but we never had an opportunity to talk with a native Indian who studied Sanskrit at school. So I am really honored to have you here, and it's pretty cool that you came to the show. So, can you tell us?
Thank you
And
so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to actually come to your show because let me tell you guys, he's doing a great job. He has got great knowledge and wisdom about Mother Lilith, and I give a thumbs up to his channel and his work as well.
yeah, so can you tell the audience how you started working with the Kali? And
Well, the thing is that I belong, like the place that I belong to in India, the state that I belong to, their worshipping goddess Kali comes naturally. And, she is worshipped in every household in her different aspects and forms. And that is the place, like my native place, which is the hub of Tantra and Tantric practices. We have got some of the most famous tantrics from my native place, which is Bengal. So it is a land of Tantra, basically.
yeah, yeah, I know where Bengali is. It's kind of infamous. So, can you tell us, because you are kind of familiar with some of the Western literature on Kali and how she is described, and then you are a native Hindu Bengali, and you know how you guys in Bengal see goddess Kali. So, can you tell us finally, after so many years, because nobody kind of asks Indians what they think about their own gods, you know, white people always tend to make their own shit up. So, what is a
Not like
traditional
that.
rural understanding among the common people about the Kali Day? What would they say if you ask them that question?
Well, she's seen as mother goddess. She's not feared at all. Especially in Bengal, she is seen as a mother figure, and worshipping her and giving her sacrifices is very common. It's like something done by most people. And there is a special day to worship goddess Kali, which she's worshipped, during midnight on a festival which is like the most important Hindu festival called Diwali. So Diwali is actually the festival known as the festival of lights. So, but she's a dark goddess. So, you see the difference in Bengal and the rest of India. So, 12 o'clock at night, people would gather in a Kali temple, and she has a very fierce form, because she cuts through the cords of karma and past life karma and accumulated karma and everything, and she breaks the shackles and basically is a liberator. So she's worshipped. There are dance performances, there are devotional songs, and there are tantric practices with where fire is lighted and some sacrifices and mantras are chanted for the goddess. So this is how we do it. And she's also given alcohol, which doesn't happen anywhere else. So because that is what is she's a dark goddess, and alcohol, use of non-vegetarian food offerings, this is something that is like common, which would not happen with the rest of the gods in India.
Yeah. So essentially, you kind of give me the same feedback as Hindu guys I talked previously, because I'm kind of associated with the Iron World Foundation. They are kind of Hindu foundation, and it's really a small number of people on Patreon, and they kind of share their own materials, and they pretty much told me the same thing you are telling me, which is that all of those tantric practices and rituals, they have the same goal as the right hand path shit. The only difference is the method. And you can like eat meat, drink alcohol, and do other things, and Kali is fine with that. So can you tell us some things which are you are not allowed to do when you work with Kali? Like, are there some actual taboos? Because I was always interested in that.
Kali is actually beyond taboos. Okay, she's quite akin to the infernal god that I work with, that is Belial. I find their energy quite similar. You know, it's more like, you know, if you want to work with Kali, you have to break through the limitations that you have set for yourself. You know, you have to define yourself as you want to define yourself. Nobody else should be able to define you. And she doesn't believe in any kind of limitations. So working with her would mean carving your own path for yourself. Uh, I think that's how what she would like you to do.
Yeah. So, you know, can I, but like when I kind of talk to the Hindu guys, like everybody from India, what I kind of noticed, which is pretty weird to somebody from Europe, especially from the West. I am not a Westerner, so that's not so weird to me. I am like Southern Europe. We are like our own
Okay.
Wild West. But uh, what's kind of interesting to me is that the gods, they are not distant in India. They are part of the daily life of Indians. And
Yeah,
like
that's true.
having,
That's true. That's very true.
having visions of the gods, having experience with the gods, getting messages from the gods, it's
That's
not
common.
something which is distant from the daily life, you know. You can talk to some woman in some house in the middle of the village or in the middle of the city, and she will tell you while drinking the morning coffee, hey, I was cleaning and then I fell asleep and God and Scully told me this, and this, and I did so and
Some
so, and
channel messages.
shit
Yeah.
happened. And then shit happened. And it's kind of not what you find in a Western discourse. You know, in a Western discourse and in Islamic discourse, God is somewhere distant. But
Yeah,
in a
yeah, yeah.
Hindu discourse,
I know about it. I know about it. I have
yeah,
talked to people from Semitic religions, and I find the same thing. God is sitting somewhere in heaven, and you know, there's a lot of distance between humans and God. But yeah, that is not the thing here. That is not. God is a part of our daily life. Yeah, that's true.
yeah. So can you like tell us some interesting stories about how you started working with Kali? Some interesting anecdotes, you know.
Yeah, sure. It's actually something nobody asked me. It's quite personal and very close to my heart. Actually, she's the one who showed me my path, the path that I'm walking now. She was the one who introduced me to left hand path. And how this happened was that there's a very famous tantric who followed the left hand path first, and then he moved to devotional path with Kali. And his name is Ramakrishna Paramhans. Now, I used to do as a kid, I used to hear his stories and how he would go into trance, talk to Mother Kali. And I thought that, even as a kid, this is something very natural that I do. So I kind of like felt I resonated with him. So I started reading about him. And this came to me. Now you would say I'm saying the same thing, but actually it came to me in a dream while I was in college. I saw Ramakrishna taking my hand when I was a very young girl and actually pulling me to the Kali temple. And he introduced me to Goddess Kali and told me that she will show you the way and you will be walking the left hand path with many different deities from different pantheons. So be ready for that, my child. This is what my daughter, this is what he told me. Be ready for that. And when I woke up in the morning, I was not able to make sense of whether I am like here in this plane of existence or I've moved somewhere. I stayed like that for some time, for quite some time. So that was my first like experience with her, and there was no looking back after that. I studied the Dakinis. I studied about Kali more and more. I communed with her, invoked her, That's how it will happen.
So you mentioned Ramakrishna, by the way, and Ramakrishna is really important, not only for the Hindu discourse, but he is also important from the modern Western discourse because he was the guru of Swami Vivekananda. And essentially, the entire New Age movement in the West is misinterpretation of what Vivekananda wrote at the beginning of 20th century. So, can you tell us, like, what is Hindu interpretation of Ramakrishna? What would Indians tell about him? Because like in the West, you have all of those crazy stories about Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, but what's like Hindu side of the story? What's like the Indian opinion?
Okay, the Indian opinion is that he is understood to be in the he falls in the category of I wouldn't say a god, but an enlightened human, almost who had a union with goddess Kali. So an enlightened human having a union with goddess Kali, and he's very much revered. His stories and his teachings are very much followed. And in fact, there are Ramakrishna temples with books on Ramakrishna, his life, and the path that he showed to work with Kali. So, from a Hindu perspective, he's just seen as somebody who is an exalted being who was already enlightened and just took birth to show the path of Kali to everyone else.
So that's like interesting because essentially it's for whatever reason to us who are not born in India, for example, to us the concept of human being a god, despite of it being in the Bible, by the way, to us the human being a god is almost like a heresy, right? It's something you are not allowed to say. It's something you are not allowed to do. It's something you are not allowed to discuss. But in India, thinking that you are a god, or that guru is a god, or that priest is a god, is actually part of the religion. So, and what I really like about Goddess Kali is that she is completely opposed to the caste system in any shape or form.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
is,
absolutely, she is. She
yeah,
is,
and
yeah.
yeah, and essentially, I kind of read a little bit about it. I mean, not a little bit more about all of those Brahmanic laws and restrictions and all of the
I'm
things.
born and brought up a Brahmin, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
born. I broke all my rules, but of course, it was difficult as a kid. But yeah, I was always a rebel in my house, so.
okay. So you essentially are born in a Brahmin family, and you didn't like the restrictions of the Brahmin caste, which are extremely severe. And actually, for my viewers who don't know, caste system is actually really real and really strong in India, and the ritual restrictions of the caste system are taken really seriously. And I was kind of told this by uh, people from India who kind of told me that there was like a beef between Hindu practitioners because they thought that the Hindu tantric practices shouldn't be given to the Western audience at all. And that's the reason why majority of gurus who come to the West, they like simply write books and they don't teach anything. Like, for example, Osho, you probably heard about the guy and you
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
read the guy. He wrote a bunch of stuff. Writing is really good, but regarding what he taught, it's maybe 5% of what he knew, because there is literally a law in place, which is don't give any knowledge to the outsiders. It's literally a really heavy restriction. And so I'm interested in how you kind of decided to break all of those restrictions, how it affected your family, because in India, it's a really big thing.
Okay, now this is a personal question, but yeah, I would like to discuss it because there are people who are facing problems like me, whether they're in the West or in India or anywhere else in Asia. This is for you guys. Now the thing is that when you're walking with these dark and, gods and goddesses, they're going to clear the path for you only if you dare to say yes. And saying yes is not really difficult if you realize that following bullshit for years is going to do no good to you. So just be yourself. And I've always been a good girl, by the way. I don't drink, I don't smoke. It's weird, but yeah, I don't like it. And I'm a vegetarian. So by choice, not saying that you should be as well. But yeah, the good thing about my family was that my mother, she knew that I'm different from the rest. So she kind of supported me. Sometimes she did not agree with me, but I really would like to thank her today. She told me about Ramakrishna, about Tantra, and then she said that you decide it for yourself. What do you want for yourself? Because she knew that this girl is not following the beaten track. She's maybe going to go lunatic or something, lose her mind. So she was like, when are you going to study? When are you going to get married and stuff like that? I was like, I'm following my own thing. I'm going to do that anyway. So she was an inspiration. She tried to understand me. So there was not much restriction from my family, but my friend circle, I think I had real trouble growing up as an adolescent because I was thinking very differently. I could sense spirits, I could telepathically connect to people, to their energy. And I used to feel as if I'm weird. But when I used to feel that, I would talk to my mother, and in spite of not understanding me completely, she supported me. So this played a huge role in my growth and helping me to walk the spiritual path that I carved for myself. And when Bilial entered my life just after my mother passed away, there was like my life completely changed. I was like doing my own thing, and nobody was causing any trouble to me. Nobody was saying anything to me. So that's
Yeah,
the story.
yeah. That's like classical Belial story with females. Let me add, because he is extremely protective. Sometimes, honestly, I would like to be a female just to work with Belial in this way, because he's actually really aggressive towards us boys. He is not really protective. He
Yeah, he
like
would. Yeah, he would even say man up. This is a classical thing he always says to guys who come to me with issues regarding Bilial when they're working with Bilial. And he would say, don't interfere, they'll do their own thing. You're not going to tell anything more than a channel message. And he would really say man up. That's the only thing
yeah,
he
yeah.
says.
He says up. He beats you into
I
shape.
sometimes think it's too much. I was like, what's wrong with Bilial? Like, this is too much because a man should be allowed to connect to his sensitive side. I really appreciate that a lot.
So here is the thing, like Belial is extremely harsh towards males. I know people who like worked with him and went a little bit nuts because he kind of beat them up. But I think it's like a really good thing because essentially genders are different. It's a biological fact, and
That's true.
man needs to confront different challenges in life than a woman. But the problem of the modern society is essentially that we are not taught that men and women are biologically different. And so when you are a guy and your father is absent, he is working or whatever, you don't have any rule of successful male who kind of completed his grown up process in a society. And so you have a bunch of guys who think that because they live with their own mothers, that they can behave like girls and still be ahead in life. But unfortunately, it's not possible. And essentially, Belial is one of those entities who will beat you into shape. And Shiva will do the same thing too. I think Shiva is much worse than Belial
I
because
don't
he
know.
really,
I didn't find Shiva to do anything like that with me, but I mean, maybe because we are grown up worshiping the classic Shiva, the way he's understood here. But yeah, I have had a talk with people in the West, and they work with Shiva, and it was quite intense. I think much more intense than Bilial.
Yeah, yeah. But essentially, for my specific Shiva work, I kind of worked him in two different ways. So the first, actually three different ways. So the first way is there was a guy on the Facebook, and he's known as Shianesh Swaji or something. And he's like sending material to people on the internet. Uh, I don't hear you for a second. Are you
Can you
there?
hear me? Am I loud
Yeah,
enough?
I can now. It's okay. So essentially, he sent me a mantra of Om Namah Shivaya and how to use it. And then I used it. And then I felt like really strong, celestial, intoxicating, heavy energy. It's like a little bit heavy, but it makes you so high that you are so happy you are like laughing for 3 hours later, you know, that kind of a thing. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that's the first time I approached him. And then I worked with him for about 3 months. And after that, I decided to work with him from a left hand path perspective. So I approached Hindu guys
That's
from
the
the
real thing. That's the real Shiva, actually. That's the real Shiva.
yeah,
The left hand path, because he's known as Mahayogi, and he's the one who actually created Tantra. So that's the
yeah,
real Shiva.
yeah. So they kind of gave me a yantra and a chant to connect with Shiva. And what came through was pretty weird. So it was like a perfect mixture of darkness and light, essentially.
Yeah.
And he kind of at will shifted from some form of a dark demonic form to some form of a divine form. And he was like, look, you need to open a gate for me within yourself. And then I told him to merge with me, and he kind of entered with me energetically. And then, like, he turned the switch in me, and I felt literally that through some channels in my body, he is literally entering me, but not from the outside, but from within. But it's not
Yeah, yeah.
like you are doing invocation of the spirit in which you do invocation and then something comes into you, possesses you. It's like you are receiving certain type of energy through the channel in your body. And that's essentially my weirdest experience with him so far. But I approached him in a third way, with which you will also be familiar with. There are like those old Brahmanic hymns to Rudra on the internet, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
somebody actually filmed them. And I am like, let me try this. Let me see what is this. And I started repeating after them as well as I could. Obviously, I butchered a bunch of words because I am not Sanskrit speaker. I am not raised in a Brahmanic family, but I tried it anyway. And
Yeah.
after maybe 45 minutes of this, what happened was, let me kind of describe it. It was the most traumatic experience of my life. My first conjuration of this form of him. So everything was on fire. Everything started to burn. And then I saw angry face of Shiva, but it was extremely
Yeah,
angry.
that's Rudra, because Rudra
Yeah,
is the fierce form of Shiva. There are many fierce forms of Shiva. Like, for example, I am devoted to the fifth incarnation of Shiva in Tantra, that is Lord Bhairava. Bhairava is also like that, like Rudra, a fierce form. So that's what I think you experience.
yeah. And I was working with that for some time. But what's weird to me is that he always introduces himself as Lord of Destruction, Lord Shiva, right? But energetically, those forms are so different that to somebody who is unaware of the union of the essence, they would look like different entities.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. That's true.
there
That's
is
true. That's true.
there is pretty small amount of things in common between the pleasant form of Shiva from the beginning of my work and Rudra, for example. Right now, I am working with the mixed tantric form of him.
Okay.
But essentially, what I have to say, because a lot of like European guys from Europe, like white guys from Sweden, Norway, whatever, they read the Vedas and they think that Rudra is like the original form of Shiva. So they want to work with Rudra. And
The primal Shiva, yeah.
yeah, but what I would say to those guys is that Rudra is maybe like the oldest revered form, but from the spiritual point of view, all of the forms of him are like equally old because it's entity beyond time. And
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Rudra form specifically is extremely dangerous.
It is actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So what's your kind of experience with Bhairava specifically?
See, the name Bhairava, you have to understand. The name Bhairava means taking you out of fear or without fear. Because Bhai means fear. Bhai. Bhai, the word Bhai means fear. Rava, fearless, without fear. So he's the one form of Shiva who takes you out of fear. So working with him would make you fearless, would make you more confident, stronger in yourself, stronger in your resolve. And also, I love the death essence of him, because he is the Lord of the cremation grounds, of the graveyard. And I love this kind of energy somehow. So, even though I actively don't work, but yeah, he has helped me in the past. So my experience with Bhairava was that once he's there, even though he's known as a very fierce form, but in spite of that, he actually helped me to gain some peace of mind when I was feeling the intense heat and pressure coming from Bilial. He kind of controlled it and channelized it in the right way, because like I would feel like my body is burning from inside when I started working with Bilial. And there was such great pressure on my like heart area, heart chakra, and he controlled it beautifully and actually helped me channelize it and use it. So I would say that Bhairava, when he favors you, he can really make you calm and composed from a state of fear, anxiety, when you're walking this as a spiritual path with the deity, and you're having these challenges to face. So I think Bhairava would really help a devotee to get rid of these kind of I would call it low vibes.
Yeah. Actually, I performed maybe one experiment with this form of Shiva, but I don't talk about it because I think it wasn't as it should be. So his energy is like the mix between really, really dark and gray. Uh, uh, how I did it is I worked with other like entities, asuras and
Okay.
Mayalakan demon, essentially according to the instructions given to me by those Hindu guys. And then Apasmara or Mayalakan told me once that I should call Bhairava up. And I did it only once or twice. And essentially, what he told me wasn't really pleasant to me to hear. And it wasn't really nice for me to hear. What he told me is, you have decent occult knowledge, but you don't have any maturity. And you need to stop. And when he said you need to stop, he literally gave me a flashback of all of the traumas I had in recent past, and he repeated them on loop until I was emotionally exhausted. And that was my second and only uh, interaction with him. So I had only two interactions. And he seems to be really heavily teaching people that whatever they are doing magically to harm or to heal, it counts the same way as if you did it physically. So a lot of people who
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah. That's right, actually.
uh, any form of spiritual work, there is like a unwritten sentiment that whatever you do spiritually is spiritual, and therefore it doesn't have the same repercussions as physical work. And it actually does.
It
Actually,
does.
if you are really destructive, extremely destructive with spiritual work. You will be judged and divided in the same way you would be if you did it physically. There is no difference between casting darker work or somebody or beating them up. And so that's kind of what Bhairava was pretty heavy on me, and he was like also traumatizing me. And if I had to choose one aspect of Shiva, which is like energetically the most similar to Kali, that would be the Bhairava form. But
It is.
then,
Bhairava's divine consort is one of the forms of Kali Ma, and she's known as Bhairavi.
yeah, yeah. But like, can you explain this to me? Because when I work with Kali, this is what I get. So give me a little bit more like explanation. So what I get when I call Kali out is extremely dark, completely black, but also revitalizing feminine energy. And it kind of grows exponentially. It's like, and it's like super, super destructive, but it's also super, super protective. Like when she is there, you are invincible. Tiger is entering the room, no problem, you know?
Yeah. That's her. That's really Kali. Um, how to put it? What exactly do you want me to tell you?
So, like, what form of her is what I am working with?
Kali has two major forms. Okay, one is the Dakshina Kali, and the other is the Shamashana Kali. Okay, now the Dakshina Kali is the form of Kali that is commonly worshipped by people in households. You can call her the right hand path kind of Kali, you know. And the other one, Shamashana Kali, she's not to be invoked inside your house. Shamashana means the cremation ground. So she's the Kali of the cremation ground. She's in her most like primordial form, okay, as the Shamashana Kali or Kali of the cremation grounds. So I think that is the Kali you invoked because of your interest in dark spectrum of spirituality. Because the way you're explaining, this is definitely Shamashana Kali, and Shamashana Kali is associated with the Dakinis, so which we were going to talk today.
Yeah, yeah. So this is why I called a Hindu person on an interview, because no Westerner could tell me this. Because actually they don't know this. Like they are really ignorant regarding actual terminology and aspects. And also this question, like, is Bhairavi a separate thing from Kali, or is it simply form of Kali? What's actually the relationship between Bhairavi and Kali? Like,
Uh, just like Shiva has different incarnations and forms, or you can call it aspects of Shiva, like Rudra, Bhairava, and many other. Just like that, these are all forms and aspects of Mother Goddess Kali, but they maintain their individual identity. So if you're working with Bhairavi, you're working with Bhairavi. If you're working with Kali, you're working with Kali, you know, like that. But they all come from Kali. It's like that.
okay, so it's the same form of relationship as Rudra and more popular forms of Shiva, or Rudra and Bhairava, for example. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It's all the same deity, but kind of smaller facets of that great primordial
smaller
form.
facets, smaller facets, as well as they have their own things to teach you and fulfill. But they are Kali, like that.
Yeah, yeah. So what about the Dankinis? Because you kind of worked heavily with them, and they are probably really a really large part of your practice. I mean, you made only one video on them, but from what you said, it was kind of obvious that you know much, much more about them. So can you?
Yeah, actually, it's a vast topic. I really don't know how to start because it's really a vast topic. But I would tell you the most important and significant points about the Dakinis. Now, the Dakinis are present in both the Hindu as well as the Buddhist traditions. Okay, but the descriptions are a little bit different in the Hindu and the Buddhist texts. I would talk about the Dakinis of the Hindu texts, Hindu tantric traditions. So now the Dakinis can be understood as the female spirits working with and under Kalima. Okay, and Kalima is the presiding deity of the Dakinis. So she's like, you can call her Mahakali. Maha means great. And then Mahakali has smaller forms, smaller aspects, working as her assistants or attendants. They are these Dakinis, okay? Dakinis are extremely powerful female spirits. They have their male counterparts known as the Dakas, again, extremely wrathful and powerful entities. They are the ones that every tantric has to face, okay? There are, even among Dakinis, there are two bridges, like you have the physical Dakinis and the spiritual Dakinis, okay? Now, the physical Dakinis are very much present in the physical world with us as spirits. You can find them in cremation grounds, graveyards, ruined castles, and such other ruined places, and even deep in the woods and forests. They like to stay in these kind of places with the energy of death, decay, and ruin. Okay? Uh, they pose challenges for the tantric who is practicing, uh, take many tests and puts him through trials and tribulations to check whether he really deserves to learn the wisdom of Kali Tantra. So they are the guardians of the inner mysteries of Tantra, the inner feminine mysteries of Tantra. They guard that. And they'll only give it to you and teach it to you if you are a deserving candidate, so to speak. And you will meet a Dakini like a Tantric when he decides on, you know, working on his ascension. Yeah. He would have to do heavy work in the cremation ground and sitting on the funeral pyre of people, no, sitting on a dead body of a person, and in the dead of the night, and nobody with him. And that is the time when the Dakinis are very heavily present around him, and they would test him like anything. I choose to call the Dakinis in simple words as kind of mind game players. They'll play with your mind. Your mind is like their playground. They'll twist and turn it to their liking just to see where you stand, you know? And they would present themselves either as very attractive females, like you cannot say no to them, and time and again bug you, to bring up desires that are deep seated inside you, or maybe desires that you never know existed. Either this, or they'll fill you with such fear which you have never experienced before. And you would be like, I'm going to run for my life now. But if a tantric has a very solid foundation and has work done on himself, he'll be able to subdue these Dakinis. And you must subdue these Dakinis. It's not anything wrong that you're doing. You have to wield the power as a tantric. And then when they come under your command, not in a negative sense, but this is what they know they have to do it. Under your command, then they'll bless you with spiritual wisdom, with the feminine mysteries, with abundance of all kinds. So this is how they work.
So you kind of got your own Dankini, and it was obvious. So that's why I kind of called you on a show. So essentially, what you are telling me is, in order to get a Dankini, somebody kind of needs to isolate himself, work with the Mother Kali, get the permission, and then you either need to go to the place where Dankinis live, or ask Mother Kali to give you Dankini, and then she will send you one, and Dankini will test you and traumatize you until you get control over it.
Yep.
So you kind of know, guys, what to do if you want one. Guys and girls.
that there is one remedy to this, because when I was working on this, I really asked for this remedy, because in the modern world, especially with people who are living with families, householders, as well as us like householders, but walking a spiritual path, spiritual seekers. Uh, we need to have some kind of balance. We cannot go and sit in cremation grounds for hours when we have like family to take care of. So there is a remedy for this. And this is kind of like a gnosis. I cannot share the entire thing, but I can give you a mantra. I'm ready with the mantra. I have invoked Goddess Kali and got the mantra for you guys. So I was thinking of sharing it with you. So it's like it's a process you can follow. What I was hearing in my mind when I had invoked her, and I felt her presence and her kind of, it was like a protective blanket all around me, like my mother is here. And she told me that you don't have to go to the graveyard or the cremation ground. Bring the cremation ground to yourself. Now I was like, okay, how to do it, how to go about doing it. She said that this is a kind of deeper understanding that you need to develop in you, that nothing in your vicinity should bother you or come in the way of your spiritual practice. You want a graveyard, you want a cremation ground, you bring it inside yourself. You get into a meditative state, use the normal usual visualization and meditation practices that you have been doing, and get into a state where you can bring the vibes of cremation ground right where you are. The only thing that you need to do is you should not be disturbed during this entire process, because you're going to deal with very powerful energies that are dark. So first, the breathing and the chanting of Aum should be done. And by the way, it's not Om. Most people say Om, but it's actually Aum. It's like Ah, it's like that. So you have to chant this and then bring yourself into a peaceful state where you're ready, you're open to invite the energy, and then you work on your root chakra and your crown chakra, connecting both, because the spiritual dakinis, they are there in your root chakra. So when you connect the crown and the root together, you get a connection between both, so that spiritual downloads can come through and the dakini can lead you to the spiritual downloads. So after that, when you get into this state and you're ready to call the dakini, all you have to do is you have to chant the mantra of Shamashana Kali, or Kali of the cremation grounds, and you say, this is the mantra that she's given me, I'm going to give it to you. Om Devi Kali Dakinye Swaha. I shall repeat. Om Devi Kali Dakinye Swaha. This is how you go. So you chant it 108 times, and you call for Mother Kali to give you a dakini who will be working with you. 1,000 counts. Take as much time as you want. 1,000 counts should give you the license to connect with one of the dakinis that she sends for you.
Wow. Thank you for this. I really don't know what to say. This is like, okay, while you were pronouncing it, like my aura was shifting. Actually, since you are born in a Brahmanic family and they kind of teach Sanskrit from a really young age, can you like tell us how it kind of goes? Because I'm kind of...
Okay, so Aum is the primordial sound of creation. It's a sound of Shiva. It is, echoing all around us. It is the original sound of Mother Nature, Mother Earth. Okay, so Aum, this is how it goes. It means creation, maintenance, and liberation. I'm one with the creation, maintenance, liberation. I'm one with it. Okay, and Devi, the second word Devi, Aum, you're done with that, Aum, then Devi. Devi means goddess. Okay, Devi means goddess, and Kali, Kali, Mother Goddess Kali, Dakinye, the one who is like Dakini, Swaha. Okay, I give myself to you, I devote myself to you. So mote it be. It's kind of like that, to simplify the mantra for you. Okay, so because like I said, Kali is the presiding deity of the Dakinis, so she herself is a Dakini. Okay, even she herself can present herself as a Dakini. So in that form, she'll be known as the Mahadakini, like the great Dakini, the goddess of Dakinis. So this is how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. Like, thank you for sharing this with us. This is like nobody kind of. I interview a lot of people, but majority of them, they don't give anything. Uh, so thank you really for being such generous to us and giving us here on this channel such an amazing thing.
Thank
So
you. Thank you for inviting me once again.
yeah, but what is kind of some of the warnings you could give to people who try this?
The only warning is, and this is true for whether you're working with any tantric deity or any demonic deity, for everyone, beginners especially. I always say this: build a very, very strong basic foundation. Without working on your foundation, never call, invoke, or try any of these. This is not something to be played with. It's like playing with fire. And sometimes it can really devastate you and put your entire life upside down. So I would never suggest that. Be grounded in yourself, know who you are first, and when you're done with all of this work, then you can invoke these deities.
Yeah, so since you are kind of literally raised with the gods, because that's essentially Brahmanic upbringing, they teach you to work with the gods since you are 3 years old. So what are actually foundations?
The foundations are many. I would start by saying that maintaining a regular discipline in your life is very essential. Uh, Cutting down on some habits that can actually act as obstacles would be very beneficial, like what you eat. Try to eat organic because it's going to raise your vibration. Okay, we may think it's something very simple. I can have a burger anytime. Of course, you can have it, but just relying on food that is low vibe is going to keep your vibration down. So organic food is a must, and meditating on a regular basis, if not daily, but on a regular basis. Doing yogic practices, some yoga, some pranayama. Pranayama is breathing exercise. There are three simple breathing exercise or three simple pranayam that anyone can do. Okay, you can even find it on YouTube. The first is Brastika, the second is Kapalabhati, and the third is Anulom Vilom. It's all about the right kind of breathing to attune yourself to spiritual practices. So this and having a positive state of mind and not cursing people without any reason.
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, I am interested in one more topic you are probably familiar with. What's actually Kundalini in the sources, you know?
Again, a very vast topic. It's a very vast topic. Um, Simply put, Kundalini is when the crown chakra and the root chakra are in alignment, and there is a meeting of that. There's a rising of Kundalini means there's a serpent-like energy. It's not a literal serpent. It's like a serpent-like coiled energy, and that is the feminine energy, the energy of the Shakti. Okay, the divine feminine. It is lying in the root chakra. And when you go through the chakra activation properly, okay, then this Kundalini rises to meet the crown chakra, okay? The Shakti rises up. And that is when enlightenment happens. Now, enlightenment doesn't mean you will transform into some being. It simply means even while in your human body, you would be an enlightened being, an enlightened person. You'll be like a medium, like an oracle, like a channel, because you'll be able to hear, see, feel that what people in the mundane world cannot.
Yeah. And so enlightenment is essentially a state of mind. And what is kind of, because this is also something I can tell you, you will kind of understand what I'm saying. So about almost a year ago, so last summer, we are almost approaching summer, so it's like 9, 10 months ago. I started my extremely heavy Kali working, and I did my mantras, and she appeared in a really dark form. And then she told me, "Do you want me to show you how reality actually looks like?" And I was like, "Yes." And so I was literally, my brain was turned off. Everything was like dark. And then after that darkness, as if somebody turned on the light, I saw a lot of spirals made of light. And I also saw a light descending from above. But when I say light descending from above, I don't mean the physical sky. I mean above, like spiritual above. And that light from above, like, was feeding every single creature in existence. All of the creatures, like, are literally given life by that supreme principle at every second. But there was also what can I only describe as dark negative energy around every creature on this plane. And that dark negative energy was kind of working. In my perception, it was working as a shield, but maybe it is my perception because I am working with that negative energy, so I don't see it as something bad. So you have like negative energy around everyone, like dark negative energy, and then you have light descending from above into everyone and feeding everyone, and then you have like a spirals of light which kind of intertwine with each other, and they create everything. And so that entire experience, which I am like describing for 5 minutes to you, lasted maybe 7 seconds. And this is actually how spiritual experiences looked like. It's not some elaborate multiple hours. I don't know. It lasts maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 7 seconds.
The real thing is not like they show it in movies. There is nothing so profoundly visible, but it shakes you from within when it
Yeah,
happens. Even if it's for like a split second, it really shakes you to the core. So yeah, I can totally understand what you're talking about.
yeah. But what I also noticed while working with Kali is she is one of the few spirits which kind of forcefully puts you into state of mind necessary for meditating. You are not meditating properly, bam, and all of a sudden you see nothing and you cannot see anything because you are forcefully in that meditation state, which is like,
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. So essentially, what are kind of some of the, maybe because, like, I don't know, maybe I irritate you with those questions, but there is a lot of like videos by different monks and brahmans on YouTube, and they are like giving instructions on how to give offerings, and they are like extremely specific. Like, you need to give this flower and this tree and this drink, and you need to do it in this hour. Like, what's your opinion about all of this?
My opinion on this is that it should be when you're walking a spiritual path, uh, especially the left hand path, especially working with the ancient dark divinities, gods and goddesses. You should know one thing that Bilial taught me, and I'm so grateful to him. I always quote him because this is the true understanding of the left hand path. There is no rule. When you establish a solid connection with a deity, there are no rules. You can go on doing anything. You can feed them what you want to eat. You can call them at any given hour. Like if it's a night spirit, you call that night spirit during daytime or in the morning. You will feel the connection. They will come to you. These all elaborate kind of rituals and offerings to be given, this particular flower to be given. It's very good for people who are monkey brained. Okay, people who don't know anything and they have very limited understanding of things. They'll never carve out a path for themselves. They are followers. They are followers. They are not ground breakers. They are not people who would make a breakthrough. They're just following the herd mentality. For them to protect them and their energy, this is good actually. It's beneficial. Okay, because they won't be able to handle this kind of thing if this happens, like it happened with you, like it happened with me, like it happened with other practitioners who are doing the real thing. They won't be able to take it. So they should just follow the limits. And also, some people, I would simply say, they are following the conservative traditions and they want to maintain that. They don't want any changes. They fear changes. They don't want growth. They teach these kind of things. Okay, so it should be always your take, always to be fearless when you walk this path. You want to give her a wildflower, give her a wildflower. If you're giving it like with all the honesty and devotion in your heart, it's going to work better than the flower that that particular priest has said is going to work. So that's my take on it.
Okay. So this is like what I also wanted to ask, because you are the only reliable source for this field in the occult community. Like how those Sanskrit mantras are actually pronounced. What's the science behind all of that?
It's the same, like you say, that sound has vibration. So these are like, the mantras that, the ends that, the demonic ends that we have. They are intuitively received by people. It's something like that. These are ancient sounds that later on became languages, established languages that were received by like ancient sages. And that is how it was handed down to people. It is said that Sanskrit was the language of the Hindu gods. So that is why it is revered and it is followed as it is in the scriptures as it came. The science would be the same as it is with the sounds, normal sounds, that sounds create vibrations around you. They create wavelengths. So when you take the name of an entity in a certain way, like even mantras are to be spoken and chanted in a certain way, you create sound waves and vibrations around you to call that deity to you and to connect with them. So that is, I think, the simple funda behind it.
Yeah. So essentially, what I wanted to ask, what is like connection between so this is like maybe a question which is not suitable for this interview, but I personally, this is like what happens to me personally a lot. I work with Kali and then I go to sleep and then I am like in cremation ground with some people and we are having conversations in those dreams, and then I wake up and then I feel that I was actually somewhere. But what I also noticed is, yeah, you can do the rituals in your apartment and it will work. But this is like a weird personal thing. When I started working with Kali, she told me, okay, it's all fine. You cannot move to like cremation ground, but this is a thing you need to do. You need to go to the graveyard. You need to call me on the graveyard, and you need to physically eat the graveyard dirt. And then you will start to study under me on this specific path. And I did it. So I kind of have a little problem because I would like to go to India to learn under somebody. But the problem is that when you go as a foreigner to the Hindus to receive certain knowledge, I will not say that they scam you, but it's how it looks like to me. So you pay for the initiation, they initiate you, they give you a certain energy imprint, and then they simply give you just a little bit for you to feel you got something, and then the door is closed. So what I'm kind of shocked by, this is also maybe weird, but I saw a lot of Hindu guys, so clear guys from India and from Bangladesh. It's India and Bangladesh and even Pakistan. It's same motherfuckers. The only difference is Bangladeshi and Pakistani are mostly Muslims, and a lot of them speak Urdu. But if you look at their traditions and mentality and how they look, is the same people as the guys in India. Like, it's the same mentality, is the same history, everything. Like, they come to me and they ask me to teach them how to work with demons, you know. And I am like, okay, I'm gonna teach you, but what's like the point? You kind of have your own gods. And then they tell me, yes, we have our own gods, but the people don't want to teach us anything. So if you can, you know, if you can teach me how to work with demons, then I'm okay. So even in India, like, those things are extremely closed, and general population kind
So
of
is it
doesn't.
general population would like hear the word daemon and then they'll be like, what? Like seriously? So yeah, it's the same, but many things are acceptable and accepted. Like the fierce forms of gods and goddesses, they don't evoke any fear here. They're accepted as like because light and dark is accepted as it is. Like the whole universe is a story about the light and the dark. You cannot exclude one and accept the other. So that is accepted. But demons is a taboo word. So that's a problem. Yeah, everywhere I think.
Yeah. And like, what I kind of noticed is a lot of those uh, tantric schools, they are kind of closed. It's really difficult to get in. I mean,
Tantric, let me tell you, sorry to interrupt. Tantric schools are closed because the tantrics. If it's a real tantric and real tantra that you are practicing, they have a code of conduct. It's a very disciplined kind of subject. Okay, so you're meant to follow that code of conduct under the guru, and there are real gurus. But like you talked about the scam thing, I think this is happening not only here but in many places, because the same thing happened with me by a person from the West who claimed that they're going to teach me about angels. When long time back I was working as a student with angels, and I paid the money, and they just gave me a deck of cards and said that you just follow these cards and they'll be giving you messages, and then you can work like this with them. It never happened, of course. So I think the real deal is something that is best learned by your own self. I mean, I also have no guru, and Bilyal told me that you are the only guru. Become your own guru. You don't need a guru. So I think this is the best way to go about it, because even I am not able to trust, because there are real people, but they are not so, you cannot so easily find them. And the schools of Tantra are not open to everyone because, um like the most occult schools, and this is true of West even, they say that everybody is not deserving of learning these mysteries. That is what they say, you know? So that's how it goes, I think.
yeah. So it's kind of extremely closed, yeah. But essentially, what I
I
kind of,
see you.
yeah. So can you give me maybe 10 seconds to turn on the lights in the room?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I am here. Essentially, what I'm kind of interested in is like, this is maybe like last India related question. So you have those cremation grounds and people meditating on them. And when somebody meditates in the middle of the graveyard, it's kind of obvious thing. So can you like go to your city, for example, and ask can you direct me to cremation ground so and so and to people meditating there? Is it like possible? Because like the only way they can actually teach me something is if I put myself in a cremation ground, meditate near them for a few weeks, and then they will probably like starting to pay attention. I honestly don't see any other way to get anything from them.
Uh, the cremation ground thing is like, there are tantrics and aghoris. Now, aghoris are very different, okay, from the tantrics. They have a very different way of life, and it's not for everyone. But yeah, they can really let you in a cremation ground and practice over there. Actually, it's easy if I don't know how comfortable you will be, but it's easy if you find yourself in Varanasi, because Varanasi is one city where near the river bank, the cremation ground is made. So the dead body is burnt right there, and because the river is considered to be pious, so to wash away the sins and everything. But whatever, I think it's easier for you to meditate over there because the vibe of shamashana or cremation is there, as well as it's the land of the ancient temples of Shiva, Kali, and all those deities. So the vibes and the mantras, the energy is there. So meditating over there, even if there is no one else to help you, uh, you should of course take someone along with you. You can at least practice and get a feel of it. But you know what I'm talking about, the real shamshana thing, this is done by, it's a very rigorous training. You have to leave something behind to do it. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's done in the dark woods and in cremation grounds, and done alone, by the way, not with anyone. So I don't know, in the modern world.
Yeah. But did you like ever meditated on cremation ground once?
Once I have, my reason is not that I have fear of anything. In fact, I'm very interested to do it myself. But because I have my family to take care of, I have kid around, so I don't normally like to go there and do it. But yeah, I have meditated over there, and the energy that I felt over there it's amazing. It was like I felt their touch over there, and I felt the energy being emanated by the uh, corpses over there. I felt their spirits and what they are trying to tell me. And I felt a couple of other spirits who are present when a body is being ritually burnt. The spirits that are there to attend to the spirits of the dead humans. So I felt all of that, but I could not take it any further because of obligations, of course. But that episode was really interesting and exciting. The spirits touching me and giving me messages, the whispering, and the visions that I saw, it was out of this world.
Wow. So is there like a cremation ground in your city? Is there like a cremation ground in every city, or how it kind of works?
Yeah, it's there. It's there in every city. It's there in every city. In
Yeah.
fact, there'll be two or more cremation grounds in every city. But the one that I'm talking about, Varanasi, that city, it's easy because you don't have to enter into a deep, dark place or anywhere. It's near the river bank. So even if you go there in the morning, that place is like bodies just keep on coming from morning till night. So whether you do it during the twilight hour, which is perfect, or in the morning, even in the morning, the vibe is present there if you want to feel it.
Yeah. And I'm kind of, this is really like fascinating to me. It's kind of fascinating. So what's kind of difference between tantrics and agoris? I was pointed by Kali that there is a difference between mantrics, tantrics, and agoris. Those are
Yeah.
three different categories which can overlap. So I'm gonna tell you my understanding, and then you are free to correct me. So mantrics are people who use spiritual techniques to get material stuff. So it's like sorcery. Tantrics are like guys who know certain technologies for spiritual attainment. And then Agoris are like guys who are dedicated to reach the supreme principle through the left hand path. And they could be sorcerers and they could be tantrics, but it's not their main goal. Their main goal is to kind of merge with everything through that left-handed way of attainment.
Yeah, that's a basic understanding, and that's right. There's nothing wrong with it. That's a basic and correct understanding, like a definition of what these three are. I would say the tantrics are somewhere in, that's my understanding, somewhere in between these two. You know, they are the balanced category according to me. Now you can be a tantric and move on to be an aghori. There is another category after the tantrics. I don't know whether you have heard about them. They are known as the kapaliks. Okay, that is stage ahead of a tantric. And then you've got the aghoris who are like completely disconnected from the world. In fact, they say that the entire world is a funeral pyre. The entire world is a grave. It's nothing more. If you try to understand that in a way, that's correct. When you detach yourself from the material understanding of things, then now that's correct actually. Because death is present in every single moment, you know. It is the only reality that is like present. Life is fleeting and death is the one who is ruling actually. So
Yeah,
that's what my understanding is. And Aghoris, they have a very different lifestyle, let me tell you. If you're thinking about it, they have a very different lifestyle, okay?
yeah. They have a really different lifestyle. But like Agoris are like the crown of the entire process. They are like the most extreme people.
Yeah.
And what kind of shocked me is you kind of have some of their rituals. They are not described how to do it, but somebody like simply wrote what they are doing without knowing the mantras and everything. There is a lot of like those materials on the internet. And what I kind of figured out, wait a minute, if somebody is doing this, then obviously by default, your ability to alter reality and your ability to do crazy stuff with it will become enormous. But it's not their goal, you know.
It's not there. Yeah, that's right.
They are extremely skilled in using negative energy to alter reality, but that's not their goal. They are like completely focused on spirit and on the spiritual, but they do it through physical means, which is weird. Like, I found some obscure YouTube videos describing certain techniques involving certain thing. I am not going to name what it is, you probably know. And he kind of describes how it operates. And I was also, this is also like a weird thing. So I worked with entity for a time known as Rakshasi Lankini. You probably know who it is. It's like
Rakshasi
power.
means the demons, yeah.
Yeah. And she kind of told me that the infamous Agori so-called necrophilia, right? When they deal certain stuff with certain things, you know what I'm referring to. Actually, what happens is certain entity enters a corpse, and then the entity animates the corpse from within, and
I
then
was
they,
thinking about this some time ago.
yeah.
This is something that even the Dakinis do with the tantric, because the tantric will be sitting on the dead body, and just sitting on the dead body all alone in the woods can really make you go crazy. Just sitting on the cold dead body, you know. Seriously, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this is like, but I was kind of told what kind of happened. So the dead body, I was kind of, so they kind of told me, and I want to compare notes. So she told me like this: the dead body, when it dies, the energy channels are still there.
Yeah.
So it is still semi alive, even when it turns into bone. When it turns into bone, it needs a lot of time from the bone to get out of life essence, right? Even so, let's say somebody died few hours earlier, or even a few days earlier, and it's still kind of untouched body, relatively untouched. Well, that body is actually the ideal vehicle for the spirit to possess, because it has all of the energy pathways of the alive body, but it's not inhabited by any will. So, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm listening to you. Yeah.
It's not inhabited by any will. So the reasons why agoris do what they do is to connect with the entities they work with. And if you think about it, if you don't go crazy from it, it has to do something to you.
Yeah. If you don't go crazy, in inverted commas, if you don't go crazy, that remains.
Yeah. And
It happens. Yes, it does happen because when you have decided to walk the path of the Aghori, then you have decided to leave behind everything that you knew so far. It's a total sacrifice. Total sacrifice means you're leaving behind everything that you were, that you understand yourself to be. So you cleanse yourself completely. Not even a hint of worldliness remains in you. Not even a hint. That is who an Aghori is. And then communion with spirits and making them work to according to you becomes easy for you. But then before you get to that stage, you have to cross these stages like you talked about. And not only this, there are other practices that are really like those practices in common understanding would be uh, unacceptable. But yeah, that's what agoris do. you know I'm not mentioning it here because I don't know people would be comfortable to hear it or not, but they sit near the funeral pyre, they wait for the body to burn down, and then whatever remains they have it as their
yeah, they eat it. Yeah.
yeah.
And actually, I was explained the rational reasons for it. So uh, that body is essentially, how to describe it? So the fire in Hinduism is essentially a deity. It is Agni. And
Agni.
Agni is essentially connected to Surya, one of the most powerful celestial beings. So where so the corpse which is burned on a funeral pyre possesses both celestial energy by being in contact with fire and the dark energy by being a rotten corpse. So the corpse is eaten in a symbolic manner. You are not eating like 1 kilogram of dead human meat from the
Yeah,
burnt
yeah,
corpse.
yeah,
That's
of
not
course.
possible. You eat just a little bit because it kind of represents the obliteration of taboo. You don't discriminate between celestial energy and
Yes,
dark
yes,
energy.
absolutely.
So,
And that is the fundamental tenet of tantra actually. That is a fundamental characteristic of Tantra and Tantric practices to not make any differentiation between the pure and the impure.
yeah, yeah. And like, what are some other like experiences you can share with Hindu gods and Kali and all other stuff?
There are so many. What should I? I don't know.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I was thinking that maybe we can do this kind of a session once again, if you're okay with that, where I would be talking about being a human Dakini.
Wow, that's a super cool topic. Yeah, that's a
Because
super.
that's my experience and that's what's been that's one of the gnosis I received. So that's something that would be quite an interesting topic for people to know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's also a risky thing because you probably get a lot of unwanted attention when you reach that energy level. Because it's
Not
literally.
really. Actually, the thing is that only people with very few people are actually able to see the Dakini in human form. Okay. you know who you are as a Dakini or a Daka in human form, but people would be like, they'll be able to see the intensity of the person. Either they'll be intimidating, most of the time intimidated by them, or be really drawn to them. But then their job is very focused. Their job is to just push you towards your direction, your goal, your life purpose, and towards your ascension. So that is what a Dakini or a Daka in human form is.
Yeah,
In
yeah. So since you kind of need to go, and since you want to have a part two, I am more than willing. I am really proud and egotistic person, so this is really difficult for me to say. But you are one of the few guests on this show, which knows so much more than I, that I was actually a little bit ashamed because you knew so much more on the topic than I do. I mean, I
No,
have a
no,
lot. I
it
have a
really
lot.
doesn't matter. You're
I
amazing at what you do.
Yeah, yeah. But I kind of have a lot of experiences with Kali. But regarding terminology, context, philosophy, and the theory connected to the practice, uh, I am like a guy who kind of does the stuff, and then after me doing stuff a lot, I get one thing, and then I see that one thing I got was actually present also in other sources. But I am like a kid with Lego box. I get big bits and pieces from here and there. While you are kind of really grown up in a culture and you can read Sanskrit texts and understand them. But last question for the interview, okay? Like your father is a Brahma, right? And they are like priests. So what kind of rituals would your father do? Like what they are doing?
Well, what happens in common households of Brahmins are that most of their rituals are more elaborate than rest of the castes. So even if it's a marriage ritual, marriage here is a sacrament. It's not a contract. So even marriage is happening between God and goddess. So the rituals go on for an entire day, among Brahmins. And we have the yagna, where you light the sacrificial fire and you pour clarified butter and other stuff, which I will explain later because I need to get the English terminology right. So I would talk about it later in my next video with you, which is possibly happening. Is it happening? So yagyas is something I've seen. Havans at home, which are very common to call the blessings of the gods, a particular god or goddess. That's something very common that happens in every Brahmin household. Then Brahmin men wear a kind of sacred thread that my father also wears. It's a white kind of thread from this shoulder towards the like the waist going down. It's like horizontal. It's a white thread, cotton thread, and it is called a janeyu. Okay, so when boys attain the age of 14 years, then a ceremony is done, a ritual is done where they become reborn again, and then they wear that janeyu. So that is something I've seen my father doing, not when he was 14, of course, but a couple of times when he was already a grown-up man. And this is done on special occasions also, like when your Janeo thread has broken, or it is because it's made of cotton, so it needs to be changed. Then on an auspicious day, it is changed again with the rituals and everything done. Some of the things.
Okay. So yeah, we will definitely have part two. This is crazy, guys. And yeah, you are pretty impressive. Like I wanted to ask which cast you are before we started filming, but I thought it is inappropriate question, because in India it really can be inappropriate question, and it is inappropriate question, but the fact that you are like of the highest, like it's not, you kind of don't make big deal about it, but it really makes you more capable of like reading Sanskrit and stuff. So you're really born in a Brahmanic family, which is like wow. So yeah, when you want to have part two, you know, I'm going to like definitely adapt to your time schedule. Just tell me when you want to have part two, and I will film it. So
I'll decide on it and I'll check with my schedule, work schedule right now, and I'll let you know within few days if that's okay with you.
yeah, it is definitely okay with me because this is broken. We need to have part two, dude. You need to like say as much as you are willing, because knowing that you are really from a priestly family and you are raised by reading certain texts and you actually know what is in the text, you are not speculating from the translations. It really gives everybody a unique opportunity to see what's there, you know. So talk to you soon, uh, and I hope you enjoyed this interview, guys.
I
And
totally did. I totally did. It was really nice hearing about your spiritual experiences. It was amazing.
yeah, so yeah, thank you once again, Ancient Divine Flames, for
Thank you so much.
coming.
You
And
can call me Dara rather than calling my channel's name.
yeah, yeah, I will put a link to your channel's name definitely after this is uploaded.
Thank
And
you
I,
so much.
yeah, thank you too. Yeah, I will stop the recording now.
Okay.
Okay.